Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to explore the Kadikoy Tuesday Market, also known as the Sali Pizari, if you're trying to find it on your Google GPS maps. While exploring this interesting replica market, I will be discussing a part 2 to my 30 things I wish I knew about Istanbul, with 30 more things I wish I knew, since it's been over a year and a half since I did my previous video on the 30 things at the Grand Bazaar. If you haven't seen my first video, I'll post it in the description below to watch, as it covers different but very useful points. Even though it's from a year and a half ago, a lot of the tips I give will still apply and are relevant today. Now, the Kadikoy Tuesday Market is nowhere near as large as the Grand Bazaar, with over 4,000 shops in and around it. This market is surrounded by residential buildings with a lot of newer glass high-rises behind it and some commercial main floor storefronts on the other side of the street in front of it. It almost seems like I'm walking in downtown Toronto looking at it. Anyway, it's housed in a newer parking garage that also has the largest antique market in Istanbul here on Sundays. This Sunday market is an interesting market to check out too. I did a video on the Sunday antique market with instructions on how to get there from the other side of the Bosphorus if you're in Sultan Hamid or Aksaray Metro, which I will leave a link for in the description below. I also find that the Wednesday fake market in Fatih is cheaper than this market for the same items. If I had to choose between these two markets for my trip, I would go to the Wednesday market. But if you're like me and have some time, even though it is out of the way, you should check out this place too. I don't know why, but it's so much fun visiting these markets and walking through here. Believe it or not, Turkey has the second largest replica market next to China. I'm sure you'll find some interesting things for sale in these markets. Anyway, let's begin with the 30 more things I wish I knew before flying down to Istanbul. 1. If your cell phone is eSIM compatible, get an eSIM card. It is a lot cheaper than the SIM card at the airport. I will leave a link below for an eSIM card that works in Turkey. You can also look for them on Google. If you have a cheaper cell phone that is not eSIM compatible, you will have to get a local physical SIM card at the airport. I was told at the 3 telephone sales stores in the IST airport, Vodafone, Turkish Telecom, and Turkcell, that the prices are set by the government and we're looking at around $50 US. But that's what it costs everywhere, not just the airport, as usually things you buy at the airport cost a lot more than in the city. I checked at the Akaja Mall and other malls, and it was the same price. If you see a cheaper price, it's a SIM card only for local residents that can prove it with a passport. It might be possible to buy and reuse a local SIM card, but then people are going to be calling you looking for the previous owner of the SIM card that's attached to the number. I think it's not worth the trouble for $50. Just imagine getting lost in a city over 15 million people without Google GPS because you didn't buy the SIM card at the airport. Also, if you do get the eSIM card, just remember when they email you an eSIM QR code, you will probably need a second cell phone to display the QR code so your cell phone can scan the QR code. I know it sounds silly that you can't scan the QR code with just one cell phone. but it is what it is. You may want to do this before flying down to Istanbul because, as I mentioned in my previous video, you'll have issues at customs if you fly in with 2 cell phones. You can only bring in 1 cell phone to Istanbul. 2. The online visa is now free from the government website. You will need this after landing. Before, it was $50 US. If you see a website charging for a visa, it is because it is from an intermediary website and you are paying for their scam service charge fee. You need to find the government website that offers them for free. 3. Booking.com does not work in Istanbul. If you ordered a hotel room from Booking.com and have an issue with the hotel operator, Booking's phone number is blocked if you contact them from Istanbul. There is a way around this, though, if you paid for a VPN subscription like NordVPN or some other VPN that logs onto the website from another country. This is another reason you should probably read the comments in booking reviews on the hotel unit before booking the hotel room. But take the reviews with a grain of salt too, because some people write unfair reviews. 4. Streaming websites like Tubi TV also do not work in Istanbul. So if you think you can bring a Google Chromecast dongle and hook it up to your hotel TV using the hotel's Wi-Fi, you are out of luck. You will be relegated to only being able to watch TV shows in Turkish, not English. But why are you watching TV shows anyway? You spent a lot of money to fly down here, so go out and explore the city. Even if it's raining, there's plenty of indoor malls to visit. 5. The ferries that take you from the European side to the Asian side and back can be canceled due to bad weather. I had this happen to me when I had a hotel room near the Kadikoy ferry terminal and went to Sultan Hamid, where the Hagia Sophia and the Grand Bazaar are. And both the passenger and car ferry back to Kadikoy was canceled for the rest of the day due to bad weather. If the Bosphorus is too choppy, they will cancel it even though the Bosphorus looked calm near the Galata Bridge. I ended up taking the subway that went under the Bosphorus Strait, and the nearest subway station to my hotel in Kadikoy, near the ferry terminal, was a 42-minute walk according to Google Maps GPS. I couldn't find the bus stop from the subway station to the ferry terminal using the Move It app. I don't know if someone stole the bus stop sign, but I ended up walking back home. Even worse, my battery pack was drained and it rained heavy, so it was a long, wet walk back to my hotel. So if you have a hotel in Sultan Hamid or Aksaray Metro and decide to visit the shoe market in Kadikoy, be prepared to use an alternate route if the ferry is canceled. 6. This brings up another point. Bring 2 power packs with you for your cell phone and other devices. If you have no power at the end of the day and life presents you with another challenge, you can't use Google Translate, as virtually no one there speaks English aside from some merchants. You will also have no GPS, no Move It app, and no Uber app to book a cab. It's better to have 2 power banks at the end of the day in case of an emergency. Google Translate is absolutely essential in Turkey. I read an online survey that said only 17% of Turks speak English as a second language, and most of them can only speak basic English. And most of that 17% are only in touristy areas. It's not like Scandinavian countries or Germany where most people speak English, but at least they use the Western numbering system. If you really want a hard time, go to Egypt where they use the Eastern Arabic numbering system and the numbers are different. Like a 5 looks like a 0, a 6 looks like a 7, or a 4 looks like a backwards 3. So in Egypt, you'll need to walk around with a 3 by 5 inch cheat sheet with the numbers and pronunciations of numbers instead of just passing someone a $2 calculator in Turkey and asking them to type in the price. 7. Watch out for hawkers on the ferry. Yes, they're not only around Taksim Square and the Grand Bazaar, they are also lurking around the passenger areas of the ferry. I had a guy strike up a conversation with me, asking where I was from and what I was doing here and where I was going. Curious why he was asking all these questions, I asked him what he did for a living, and he said he works in transportation, and he said he was doing a survey. Then he recommended I visit Taksim Square with him. I said no thanks. I was going somewhere else. He then recommended his friend's restaurant at the Arasta Bazaar with a special kind of tea. So all of a sudden he's willing to change his plans to go to Sultan Hamid? I again said I had somewhere to go. I doubt he's a ferry employee if he's trying to get me to visit one of his preferred businesses. He's getting a commission for bringing you to these businesses, and you're going to get scammed if you go with him there. Worse yet, he could take you to some empty alley where his friends show up to rob you. It's not worth the risk having these guys take you somewhere. His motives are not altruistic, they are financial. He has bills to pay, and he wants you to pay them. 8. If your plane ticket has a layover, be prepared for your luggage to get lost. I have had my luggage lost for a week landing in Istanbul. You have compensation rights after 72 hours under the Montreal Convention if your luggage is missing, provided you file a lost baggage report at the airport, notify your airline, and file a complaint with your country's airport regulators within 30 days. Again, it might be useful to have a VPN because some of the numbers for the airline that lost my luggage would not go through from Istanbul. I would also recommend getting the $12 baggage insurance for checked baggage from your airline when you order the ticket. I had that option, and it said if the airline doesn't find your luggage within 72 hours, I would be compensated $1,000 for each checked luggage so I could buy replacement clothes. If they find your luggage a week later, you will still get your $1,000. It's win-win. Also, think of it this way. If your airline loses your luggage, you can be assured that the insurance company will be highly motivated to follow up with that airline to get your luggage within 72 hours so they don't have to pay you $1,000. $12 for baggage insurance brings good peace of mind. 9. When visiting a market like the Tuesday Market, the area with less traffic will be cheaper. So don't buy from the first vendor that is at the entrance of a market. Usually, the further you go in, the cheaper it gets. So if you're looking for something, try to find a few people selling the same things and price compare. Also, never give a first price if there isn't a price on it. Usually, they are pretty good at posting prices at this market. But I saw some better quality Canada Goose jackets that had no price, so I asked the seller, and he had no problem giving it to me. Be careful when getting a hotel room. Inspect the hotel on Google Maps and make sure that the room isn't on the second floor next to or above a restaurant or grocery store, or you may be annoyed at night squashing roaches. Just make sure the hotel isn't adjacent to a restaurant kitchen or a grocery store, and you'll be fine, as roaches are usually near food sources in areas that smell of used cooking oil. It's not the end of the world if you find a roach a few days after staying in your room. I have never inspected a bed and found bed bugs, but roaches are a different story. Also, have extra bags in your suitcase and make sure to tie up the garbage bags if there's any food in there. Also, make sure you tie up your bag in the garbage can if there is food in it. Don't leave any food out in the open in your hotel room so they don't have a reason to hang around your hotel room looking for food. Just to relate this into a personal experience, I found a roach in my hotel room, but this was also the time that the airport lost my luggage for a week. The baggage claims woman said they located my luggage in Copenhagen and it would be sent on the next flight and couriered over to my hotel in Kadikoy the next day. Not a week later, like it actually happened. When I tried calling the airport for a follow-up, the number the baggage claims woman gave me did not work. So, going to another hotel was not an option if I wanted to get my luggage back. Also, Booking.com doesn't work in Istanbul, and I did not have a VPN set up. The pictures on Booking.com were also misleading, as it didn't look like what was posted online. I paid a premium for it because they said it had things like an ensuite washer-dryer, which it didn't. The hotel I rented for $21 US a night in Aksaray Metro off-season was far superior to this unit I had paid a premium for in Kadikoy. So don't think because you pay more, you get a better hotel room. It is not always the case. 11. Don't buy perfume from the hawkers that come up to you selling perfumes, no matter how cheap they say it is. They try to make it look real nice by wrapping it up and putting duty-free stickers on it, but it's garbage. It's water-based, not oil-based, and if you put it on, the smell will vanish within minutes. If you do make the mistake of buying it, there is a trick to make it last longer by putting Vaseline on the spot you're going to spray and spraying it on the Vaseline. But I don't think it's worth the trouble when there's better alternatives. If you want good replica perfumes that smells like the real thing and lasts, go to C Cosmetics or D&P Perfumes around the Circesi terminal. You pay more, but it lasts for days, not for minutes. I tried both shops and had one wrist sprayed with 2 different perfumes. One on the front and back of the one wrist from C Cosmetics, and the other wrist sprayed with 2 perfumes on the front and back of the other wrist from D&P. I could still smell it for days, even after I showered in the morning. It's oil-based perfume and really good stuff. It costs more than the hawker stuff, like $15 to $20 a bottle. But it lasts, and it's still cheaper than, say, a real bottle of Paco Rabanne 1 million. I asked to record D&P's perfume store to show you, and the salesman said no. So you'll have to go there yourself if you want to see what he has for sale. 12. When putting those fake perfumes or other liquids in your luggage, you will need to wrap it up and put them into your checked luggage, not your carry-on baggage, as there's a limit to how much liquids you can put in your carry-on baggage. One important thing to note when arriving or leaving the airport for carry-on baggage: 100 milliliter bottles are the maximum sizes for liquids and gels, and they are to be placed in a Ziploc bag holding up to 1 liter, except for medicine and baby food. Same goes for shampoo bottles or whatever. So, liquid containers larger than 100 milliliters must be placed in checked baggage. Alcoholic beverages over 70% alcohol by volume are not allowed in checked baggage, as it's considered flammable. Maximum 5 liters. Alcohol under 24%, like wine, doesn't have a restriction. But there's no guarantee it won't break, and when I saw how the checked baggages slide down the ramp and hits the carousel wall at the airport, glass bottles will surely break. Also, items in a duty-free bag is not considered carry-on baggage, so that may be another option for you if you want to bring alcohol with you as a gift. Most liquids are okay in checked baggage. There are no limits on other liquids except household chemicals like bleach or solvents that can react under pressure, as well as other pressurized products like hairspray, aerosol deodorants, and spray paint. Sharp objects like knives are also not allowed in checked baggage. Loose lithium batteries are not allowed in checked baggage, but it's okay if it's in a laptop. Also, no e-cigarettes or vaping devices. If you have a water bottle, empty it before you pass through the gate instead of throwing it out, and then fill it up after you pass the gate. Or you can just pay $4 for a small water bottle at the airport. On the day before you leave for your trip, eat your breakfast or meal near your hotel. Buy some bottled water and bring it with you if you think you will be waiting a long time for your flight. Food and drinks are really expensive at the airport. You can easily spend $40 to eat something at an airport restaurant that costs $5 near your hotel. A local beer that costs $1.50 from a tekel is $13 at the airport. 13. Be aware that if you're in a crowded street outside the Grand Bazaar or in Kadikoy at night, you will experience a data time delay because so many people are on the network, and you may end up getting lost. I was using a Turkish Telecom tourist SIM card, and I noticed that it would time delay for a minute on Google Maps GPS, and I ended up going down the wrong streets and couldn't find the places I wanted to go back to. Your planned 10-minute shortcut may end up being hours to get you to where you want to go. If you are in a hurry, don't count on Google Maps GPS to get you to where you want to go if the street is crowded, because too many people are on the network. Use the main streets with more recognizable landmarks instead, so you know where you are. It is better if you do some research beforehand and screenshot some maps or make mental notes of the landmarks. 14. Use the Havayas bus from the airport to an area near your hotel, whether it's Aksaray, Metro, Kadikoy, or wherever. The buses look brand new. They run every half hour to an hour, 24/7, and are a lot cheaper than a taxi. The Havayas bus is a great service for traveling between Istanbul's airports. They have 2 passenger airports. Ataturk is a 3rd airport, but it's only used for cargo planes. Just be careful on the way back not to take the bus to the SAW Sabiha Gökçen Airport, which is 32 kilometers southeast of city center. The new IST Istanbul airport, which you probably flew in from if you came from Europe or North America, is 63 kilometers west of city center. I have also noticed that sometimes on the Move It app, the bus stop might be a lot further away than it's telling you. I missed an express airport bus because I was at the wrong bus stop at the bus terminal around the Kadikoy ferry terminal. But they usually run every hour, so I still had plenty of time to go to the airport. Ask around to make sure you are at the right bus stop, too. I would also suggest doing it the day before your flight in case it rains, making it harder for people to want to talk to you. 15. Let's talk about taxi scams and how to avoid getting scammed by one. I have taken a lot of taxi rides in Istanbul. The Istanbul prepaid bus card is a lot cheaper than a taxi, but to go from my hotel near the Kadikoy ferry terminal to my dentist's office in Ümraniye, it took over 2 hours by bus because of all the traffic, but only 20 minutes using the expressway by taxi if the taxi driver is honest. So a bus is not always a practical way to get from point A to point B in such a populated city. So if you want to save a lot of time, take a taxi, but you also have to order a taxi the right way so you don't get scammed. 16. Never flag a taxi and use the taxi apps instead. I only use the Uber app to get a taxi. Flagging a taxi can cost you many times more than using the Uber app. What you have to realize is there's a lot of narrow streets, and if a car breaks down ahead of you, or there's an accident, or someone is loading or unloading a truck, or there's construction work, you're going to get stuck in traffic. If a taxi driver takes a wrong turn onto a narrow street from a 2-lane street, you can easily get stuck in traffic, and it could wind up costing you a lot more than your previous taxi ride to the same destination. If you look at my video on taxi scams in the Kadikoy graffiti walk, you will see what I mean by one-way streets walking in Kadikoy with steel pillars on each side of the street preventing a vehicle from driving around a stuck vehicle. And if there's a car behind you, you can't back up because it is just one lane. Your taxi is stuck and the meter is running. I also need to mention that there are black taxis that quote twice as much as yellow taxis, and I found that some of these black taxi drivers are a lot more willing to bend over backwards and break the rules to get you the quickest route to where you want to go. One time, in a black taxi, we were stuck in traffic in Ümraniye. From the intersection, there was one lane each way with a brick barrier between the lanes. So it was impossible to pass the cars going the right direction. There were probably 20 cars ahead of us, and no car was going the other way. So the taxi driver went down the wrong way on a one-way street for a block until he hit the intersection, so I would make good time reaching my destination. It was amazing, like something out of a movie. I wish I had videotaped it.
How much are they? Hi. How much are these?
25, 250.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Most of my taxi rides were using the basic yellow taxi, and they turned out fine, and that's all you need. They are a lot quicker than a bus. 17. Be aware that the travel websites like Booking.com can quote you double or triple what Uber is quoting you as a maximum to go to your hotel from the airport using a taxi. So only use the Uber app to get a taxi or use the express bus from the airport to your hotel in Kadikoy or wherever your hotel is. There is also a subway and a regular city bus from the airport, but it's not good to use if you have luggage because it can get crowded and you can easily get distracted by pickpockets while trying to hold onto your luggage. 18. Taxis are the only vehicles set up on Uber, so you can easily find a taxi on the Uber app. But you will also need to confirm the phone number in Istanbul for Uber on your cell phone to use the app. So don't just get a data plan SIM card at the airport and think you can just use WhatsApp. Uber will not confirm your identity with WhatsApp. I tried it. It doesn't work. You'll need a phone number so Uber can confirm your identity and SMS you. 19. There's also the BitTaxi app, but it's in Turkish, so I have never used the BitTaxi app. You definitely want Uber because it has a feedback rating system for taxis and they guarantee the fare. The feedback system is what motivates them not to pull a scam. But it still has happened to me on occasion, but in a more subtle way, and I'll give you some examples of what I experienced so you know how to deal with it. One example is while you're driving, a driver might strike up a conversation about where you're going. Never tell a taxi driver where you are going, and especially do not tell him you are going shopping. If, for example, you're going to the Grand Bazaar to buy clothes, watches, jewelry, or anything else, tell the driver you want to go to a coffee shop to meet up with a friend 1 to 2 blocks from where you are shopping. Why? Because there are a lot of merchants that pay hawkers and others a 20% commission for customers to bring them in, which means you're going to pay at least 20% more on anything you buy from that merchant if you're referred by that taxi driver. So, if you heard of a specific shop you want to go to in the Grand Bazaar or elsewhere, and tell the taxi driver, he will call up the business or have his friend who may work at a convenience store contact the business and ask the merchant for a 20% commission if they bring them a customer. If the merchant refuses, they will tell you the store is out of business and try to convince you to visit one of their preferred merchants that will give them a commission. And you will have no idea that this is even going down because they are talking on the phone with their hands-free headset in another language, or they called their friend and used a language code for their friend to book a referral. 20. This applies to hotel clerks as well. Don't ask them for a taxi and tell them where you're going shopping because they will call their preferred taxi driver to take you to their preferred merchant that will charge you a lot more for paying 2 commissions. They can also do this with tour guides or fancy restaurants. You just tell them you're going to the doctor, a dentist, or a coffee shop to meet up with a friend. Same goes for calling up a taxi driver to take you to the airport. The hotel attendants will most likely have a deal with the taxi driver who will turn off the meter and take you to the airport for a set price, and they'll get a commission for it, which is usually higher than you can find on Uber. 21. When riding in a taxi, always take out your Google GPS map on your cell phone and run it so you can see where you're going and the driver knows that you are keeping track. One time, I didn't do this to see a dentist in Umraniye and ended up paying double for the same trip because he turned off the expressway that all the other taxi drivers used when I ran Google Maps GPS and went a different route. Not only that, he said he had to go get gas at the taxi company's gas station and kept the meter running. I told him the meter is still running. He went inside the office to make a call and came back half an hour later, and I told him he had to push that meter back to when he entered the gas station, or I would report it to Uber. He turned back the meter. It also took me over an hour to get to see my dentist, even though the other cab rides only took 20 minutes. So, always turn on your Google Maps GPS so they know that you know what the quickest route to your destination is. 22. Be aware of exchanging currency with anyone other than a currency exchange shop. Another time I rode a cab using the Uber app from my dentist to my hotel room in Kadikoy, and the cab driver asked what country I am from and started telling me he collects foreign currency and coins. Right away, I knew where this was heading. He wants to convert lira to dollars, but there are currency exchange places near the Grand Bazaar that pay you the spot rate for US dollars because they sell US dollars to the locals at a premium because of inflation and the high devaluing of the Turkish lira. You can also buy foreign coins at the Sunday antique market. There is no good reason for the cab driver to ask to change foreign currency unless something fishy is up. Not only that, he could easily slip you movie prop money, counterfeit money, or old Turkish lira for your US dollars. One new Turkish lira coin is worth an old issue 1 million Turkish lira note. So just Google what the old currency and the new currency looks like. They switch over to the new lira in 2005, and the new lira only goes up to a 200 lira banknote. But the old currency is still legal tender at the rate of one new Turkish lira coin for a 1 million lira old Turkish note. Also, old Turkish lira is not counterfeit, and it's not illegal for him to use old Turkish lira banknotes as legal tender in exchange if you were to explain what happened to the police. 23. Try to get small bills and coins at the currency exchange places, so you can pay with exact change instead of the 200 lira notes, as there are scammers who will pass off fake bills as real bills. And be especially careful when dealing with people standing in front of businesses at night trying to sell you boxes of underwear or watches from a backpack. They may end up handing you movie prop money. 24. Always check that you see a security foil symbol somewhere on the banknote. I noticed that north of the Galata Bridge, on the way to a restaurant I like to visit that sells $1 chicken donars, there were street vendors selling stacks of movie prop Turkish money that doesn't have the security foil on it. They had stacks of other country currency too. So always check your money from sellers that they're not giving you fake movie prop money without the security foil on it if you have to pay cash. I found one of these movie prop 100 lira banknotes before thinking it was real, with a piece torn off the top right where the foil crescent should be. So be aware of money with a section torn from it. And by the way, I ran it under water, and it also looked like it was color photographed, so I ripped it up and threw it in the garbage. 25. Don't let the taxi driver or anyone else you meet know that you're carrying money or your passport. The taxi driver or other person could also let you out at a strange place or lead you to a place where his friends show up pretending to be undercover police and rob you of your money and passport. I did another video of 2 fake police officers who tried to steal my passport in a busy area. One of them showed me his gun. It wasn't a fun experience, so just be aware of that and use some street smarts. Also, photocopy your passport and show them your photocopy if asked. You are allowed to do that. With the Uber app, you can pay for the taxi online, and you can tell the taxi driver you have no money and you are paying for everything with your credit card. If they know you have money on you, you can easily get screwed, even though it may seem innocent to you at first. Also, dress like a working class person, not someone who's walking money, or you're going to attract trouble. 26. Never accept a ride from a taxi driver who approaches you. I remember a time when I was booked at a hotel at Aksaray Metro because the road to Sultan Hamid was under construction, and the express airport bus couldn't take me any further than Aksaray Metro. There were several taxi drivers walking around the bus as I exited, offering taxi service. These guys would have definitely overcharged any foreigner for a taxi ride, taking them through back alleys. Also, the tram was still running along the road, under construction, so anyone could have easily taken the tram to their hotel in Sultan Hamid if they did their research. I have friends who are seriously scammed by taxi drivers who are not registered with Uber. So, if you have to order a taxi, only order it from the Uber app because they guarantee the taxi ride. 27. If you need to use an ATM for cash, be aware that some machines have a higher service charge for withdrawing money. So, if there's a few machines, check a few machines, as there may be one that charges a lower service charge. I saw a few machines that wanted a flat 500 Turkish lira fee to withdraw funds, and the maximum you could withdraw from that machine was 1500 Turkish lira. That's almost like a 33% tax on withdrawing funds. The last one only wanted 400 Turkish lira. A friend of mine said he used a local Ziraat Bank ATM and they didn't charge him any fees. So I think the service charge only applies to foreign ATM cards. Maybe a Charles Schwab checking account would cover the fees if you're from the United States. But I'm Canadian and we don't have a free checking account like that. Also, do not select the local currency conversion option, also known as dynamic currency conversion, or you could be slapped with another 42% service charge, which is common throughout Europe. Your bank can handle the currency conversion for a lot less. 28. Be careful if there's a lot of people watching a street musician. Try not to be close to other people if you want to stand there and listen. It's the perfect distraction for pickpockets. This is an interesting price for socks. Let me have a look here and see which ones I'm gonna buy.
Ha, orada da o. O şekilde götür. Poşet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye.
So let's go back to our list. 29. If you need to use a bathroom, head over to your nearest mosque. There are over 3,000 mosques in Istanbul. Public toilets are attached to most mosques, and usually they are free to use. Not only is it hard to find bathrooms elsewhere, but if you do, there's a charge to use them, and you'll need small change. Public toilets attached to mosques are usually a lot cleaner than paid toilets too. 30. Just as food for thought in a matter of principle, if you're quoted prices for services that are similar to, say, North America, there is something wrong with the quote, and you should get a quote from another vendor. This is just my opinion, though I base my opinion on this. In Germany, for 2024, the monthly minimum wage was $2,400. In Canada, the monthly minimum federal wage is $2,035. In Turkey, it's $550 a month, and in Egypt, it's $185 a month. These minimum wages should reflect the prices of everything. For example, I found a lot of places where I could get a haircut for $2.50 in Istanbul. But there are also barbers asking Canadian prices, like the equivalent of $15 US for a haircut. I found a hotel room on Booking.com off-season for $21 US a night in Istanbul. By the way, I did a video on this with a $30 a day budget, including hotel in Istanbul. I will leave a link below. Anyway, I could also find a hotel room in Egypt with a continental breakfast for $11. So, Egypt sounds like a much cheaper place to visit than Turkey, right? But you also need to factor in the plane ticket in your overall budget. For example, from Toronto Airport, I found the plane ticket costs 50% more to Egypt than to Turkey, unless I wanted to take my chances flying over Jordan airspace, which is still like a 20% more cost because part of the trip is using Turkish Airlines. Overall, Turkey sounds like a better place to visit for the budget traveler. But the way I look at it is, if I take a vacation out of Canada to Turkey, I have to subtract the cost of the airplane ticket and train ride from Windsor to the airport from my overall vacation budget. So, why should I pay Canadian prices for anything in Turkey? I could just spend 2 weeks in Niagara Falls or somewhere else in Canada. I found a decent motel in Niagara Falls for $52 a night. I did a video on that too. If I wanted to pay Canadian prices for a hotel room in Istanbul, dinner, or a haircut, why don't I just stay in Canada, right? I want the price the locals are paying as a matter of principle. But it's entirely up to you if you feel you want to pay more for a service. I know people that do that and spend $15 US on a haircut, $40 on dinner, and $130 US a night on a hotel room in Istanbul, and that's fine. This is just my opinion of how a vacation should be budgeted. Appreciate it if you would at least click like and subscribe and leave an encouraging comment below. Hopefully, you learned something new from my experiences to make your trip to Istanbul more wonderful and safe. If you haven't seen part 1, please check it out. You can also check out some of my other videos with more travel tips on Istanbul and other cities I have visited. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.